Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Galatians 6:7. This passage reminds us of a fundamental truth. Everything we do has consequences. Have you ever stopped to think about what happens to those who have hurt you? It's natural to wonder about this, especially when we feel wronged. The good news is that the universe is just and does not let anything go unpunished. Divine justice will always manifest, and what goes around comes around, often in a way even more intense than one might imagine. As you watch this video, know that the consequences of the actions of those who have harmed you are already in motion. What they have sown is about to be reaped, for the cycle of karma is as certain as the rising sun. It is important that you are prepared to understand how this directly impacts your life. Today, we will explore a theme that can transform your view of justice and faith. If you have ever felt alone in your pain, believing that God was not seeing your struggles, I want you to know that the divine plan never fails. What seems forgotten or ignored is, in fact, waiting for the perfect moment to manifest. Before we continue, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you join a community of people seeking to understand and live the divine truth. Together, let's explore how the law of return operates in our lives and how we can trust in God's justice. Dear brothers and sisters, it is with great affection that I come to speak about a profound spiritual truth that teaches us about life and the consequences of our actions. The phrase, "everything that goes comes back," is a principle that resonates in our hearts and minds, and it is closely linked to the biblical teaching found in Galatians 6:7. Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. This passage reminds us that our actions, whether good or bad, have a proportional return. When we talk about sowing and reaping, we are referring to a natural cycle that applies to all of us. Every choice we make, every word we speak, and every action we take creates a wave of energy that returns to us in some way. For those who attack the chosen ones, this truth is even more relevant. The negative actions they commit do not go unanswered. They come back as inevitable consequences. It is as if the universe is always watching, ready to balance the scales. It is important to understand that there is no spiritual impunity. Sometimes we may observe people who seem to prosper, even after causing pain and suffering to others. It may seem that evil is triumphing, but this is merely a temporary illusion. Divine justice is infallible, and even if it takes time, the return of actions always occurs. God is in control of everything, and He does not forget injustices. Each of us, especially the chosen ones, must have faith that justice will be served in due time. When we look at life, it is easy to feel discouraged in the face of the injustices we witness. You may have asked yourself, "Why is this happening to me?" Or, "Does God see what I am going through?" It is natural to have these doubts, but I want you to know that God is always by your side. He sees your struggles and your pain, and He is working in your favor, even when we cannot perceive it. What seems forgotten or ignored is, in fact, waiting for the perfect moment to manifest. The law of return teaches us the importance of sowing good actions. When we choose to act with love, compassion, and kindness, we are creating fertile ground to reap positive fruits in our lives. This does not mean that we will not face difficulties, but rather that, even in adversity, we can find strength and spiritual growth. Each challenge is an opportunity for us to become stronger and closer to God. For the chosen ones, this divine protection is a special gift. When someone tries to harm them, that person is not just attacking an ordinary human being, but someone who is supported by God. This protection is a guarantee that, even in difficult times, you are not alone. God is always by your side, guiding and strengthening you on your journey. Remember that, while the enemies of the chosen ones face the consequences of their actions, the chosen ones are strengthened and protected. This confirms the idea that one should not attack or mess with a chosen one, for they have divine protection by their side. This protection transforms the return of actions into an inevitable and powerful cycle. Therefore, as we reflect on the phrase, "Everything that goes comes back," may we remember that our actions have a profound impact, not only on our lives, but also on the lives of others. May we choose to sow love, kindness, and compassion, knowing that this will return to us in ways we often cannot imagine. I invite you to trust in divine justice and to keep faith in God. He is always in control, and nothing escapes his gaze. By living according to these principles, we become true instruments of peace and love in this world. May we always remember that regardless of the difficulties we face, we are under God's protection, and the return of our actions will always be a manifestation of his justice. When we talk about divine justice, we are referring to the way God takes care of us and ensures that justice happens in our lives. This concept is fundamental to understanding that even when we face injustices, there is a greater power at work. Divine justice is a force that operates silently but effectively, ensuring that everything we do has consequences. One of the most important truths about divine justice is that God has already begun to work on justice, even if it has not yet manifested. This means that even when we feel wronged or when evil seems to prosper, God is always acting in our favor. He is not a passive spectator. He is actively involved in our lives, watching over us and caring for us. Sometimes, it may seem that things are out of control, but God has a plan and a perfect timing for every situation. The law of return is a fundamental principle that directly relates to divine justice. This law teaches us that everything we do, whether good or bad, returns to us in some way. In Galatians 6:7, we read, "Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap." This means that the actions we take have consequences, and this especially applies to those who do evil, particularly against the chosen ones. Those who attack the chosen do not escape the consequences of their actions. What they have sown, one day, they will reap. It is important to understand that God's justice does not need an audience to be effective. Often we want injustices to be corrected quickly, that the guilty be punished immediately. However, divine justice operates differently. God sees the big picture and knows what is best for each of us. He does not act hastily, but rather perfectly and at the right time. This can be difficult to accept, especially when we are suffering, but it is an essential part of faith. When we face injustices, it is natural to feel frustration and anxiety. We want things to be resolved quickly, and often we wish to see our enemies facing the consequences of their actions. However, by remembering that God is in control and that justice will be served, we can find peace in the midst of the storm. This trust helps us to let go of the desire for revenge and to focus on living according to the principles of love and compassion. The protection of the chosen is a vital aspect of divine justice. When someone tries to attack a chosen one, that person is not just dealing with an ordinary person, but with someone who is supported by God. This protection is a guarantee that even in difficult times, you are not alone. God is by your side, guiding and strengthening you on your journey. This protection is a reminder that, while the enemies of the chosen face the consequences of their actions, the chosen are being strengthened and protected. This dynamic confirms the idea that one should not attack or mess with a chosen one, for they have divine protection by their side. This protection transforms the return of actions into an inevitable and powerful cycle. When someone decides to act with malice, they are not only harming another person, but also putting themselves in a vulnerable position before divine justice. Furthermore, divine justice teaches us the importance of living ethically and justly. When we understand that our actions have consequences, we are encouraged to sow kindness and love. This not only benefits us but also creates a positive environment around us. The law of return operates in both directions. What we sow, we reap. Therefore, instead of being carried away by resentment or anger, it is better to choose the path of love and understanding. The power of divine justice is a force that acts in our lives, ensuring that what is right prevails. Even when we do not see the immediate consequences of the actions of those who harm us, we can be sure that God is working in our favor. Divine justice is real, and those who do evil will face the return of their actions. Keep faith and trust in God, knowing that justice will be served at the right time. Now, let's talk about the protection of the chosen ones. This is a fundamental aspect of the relationship between God and those He has chosen. The chosen ones are not just ordinary people. They have a special protection that comes from God. This protection reminds us that even in difficult times, we are not alone. God is always by our side, taking care of us and guiding us. When someone tries to attack a chosen one, that person is not just dealing with an ordinary human being, but with someone who is supported by God. This means that even if the attacks come from people or forces that do not understand the purpose of the chosen ones, these actions will not go unpunished. Divine protection is powerful and ensures that the chosen are strengthened amidst difficulties. It is important to emphasize that God's protection does not mean we will not face challenges. We all go through tough times, and that is part of life. However, the difference is that while we face these difficulties, we have the assurance that God is with us. He does not abandon us, even when things seem bleak. In times of trial, we can find comfort and strength in the divine presence. One phrase that may resonate with many is, "Your protection comes from above." Even when everything seems to be against you, God never abandons you. This statement reminds us that, even in the most challenging situations, we can trust that God is sustaining us. He gives us the necessary strength to face any adversity. Moreover, it is essential to understand that God does not allow trials to punish us, but to prepare us. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth. When we are attacked or wronged, we may feel discouraged. But it is in those moments that our faith is tested and strengthened. Divine protection helps us overcome these difficulties and emerge from them stronger. If you feel that you are being attacked by invisible forces or by people who do not understand your purpose, remember that you are protected. God is by your side, and this protection is a guarantee that even if enemies try to bring you down, you will not be defeated. Divine justice is at work, and those who do evil will face the consequences of their actions. The protection of the chosen also teaches us the importance of maintaining faith and trust in God. When we feel threatened or wronged, it is easy to let fear and anxiety take over. However, by remembering that we are protected by God, we can find peace in the midst of the storm. This peace allows us to focus on living according to the principles of love and compassion instead of being carried away by resentment. It is crucial for the chosen to remember that they are not alone in their struggles. God is always present, ready to offer support and guidance. This divine protection is a reminder that, even when we face difficulties, we have a greater purpose and are being prepared for something special. Finally, the protection of the chosen is an essential part of the law of return. When someone tries to harm a chosen one, That person is not just attacking a human being, but challenging divine protection. And this protection transforms the return of actions into an inevitable and powerful cycle. Those who attack the chosen will face the consequences of their actions, while the chosen will be strengthened and guided by God. Always remember, you are chosen, and God's protection is with you. Trust in this protection and keep your faith, knowing that divine justice is at work and that you are under the care of the Most High. An important point to highlight is that attacking the chosen ones brings serious consequences. This is a clear warning for those who try to harm those protected by God. In the Bible, we find several passages that speak about divine protection and the consequences of hurting the righteous. For example, in Psalms 105 verse 15, it is written, "Do not touch my anointed ones, and do my prophets no harm." This passage emphasizes that God takes care of his chosen ones, and that those who attack them will face divine wrath. When someone touches the chosen ones, that person is not just hurting a human being, but also challenging God's own justice. The law of return teaches us that the evil they cause will not go unpunished. It will come back to them in some way. This idea is fundamental to understanding how divine justice works. The phrase "God's justice does not need an audience to be effective" reminds us that divine justice does not depend on the approval or recognition of people. God sees everything and acts with his wisdom. He does not need witnesses or external validation to do what is right. When someone does harm to a chosen one, that person puts themselves in a vulnerable position. For what has been done against the chosen will be corrected. This should bring comfort to all who feel wronged, as the certainty that divine justice will prevail is an important support in difficult times. In Romans 12:19, the Bible teaches us, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge. I will repay,' says the Lord." This passage reminds us that vengeance belongs to God, and that we should trust him to bring about justice. Trusting in divine justice is one of the greatest acts of faith we can practice in our lives. When we face injustices and attacks, it is natural to feel anger or the desire to retaliate. However, true strength lies in letting go of revenge and allowing God to take care of our struggles. In Romans 12:19, we are reminded that vengeance belongs to God. This passage teaches us that instead of seeking retribution, we should trust that he will bring about justice at the right time. Maintaining inner peace amidst chaos is a challenge, but it is essential for our spiritual and emotional health. When we choose not to be carried away by anger, we are making room for God's peace in our hearts. This peace strengthens us and helps us see situations from a broader perspective. In Philippians 4:7, the Bible promises us that the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds. This peace is a divine gift that allows us to face difficulties with serenity and confidence. Faith in God is the foundation that sustains us in difficult times. When we trust in his justice, we know that we are not alone in our struggles. God is always by our side, watching over us and caring for us. He knows our pains and our battles, and his justice is perfect. By surrendering our worries to him, we find relief and renewal. In Psalms 37 verse 5, we are encouraged to commit our way to the Lord and trust in him, for he will act. Therefore, as we face injustices, let us remember to trust in divine justice, set aside revenge, and maintain peace in our hearts. This choice not only frees us from the burden of anger, but also brings us closer to God and allows us to live according to his teachings. May we be examples of love and compassion, even in the face of adversity. We would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. How have you dealt with situations of injustice in your life? Leave your comment and share your experiences with us. Your voice is important and can inspire others to trust in divine justice and maintain peace in their hearts.